owning one Bitcoin is becoming extremely rare and difficult for most people. What's up, guys? Back here with another video. So in this video, we're going to talk about why it's getting very difficult for most people to have one Bitcoin. Okay, so I'm just chilling here at the park. Nice Saturday. And I just wanted to kind of talk about what a lot of people don't really realize is really a generational opportunity to own one Bitcoin. And I was just like sitting there thinking about what I should post on the channel, and with so many things coming up, with so many new companies basically following the Bitcoin standard. We have obviously a new cycle top that's potentially coming at the end of 2025. We have a lot of new interest in Bitcoin. So I was kind of thinking to myself, I don't think a lot of people realize that the chance for the average Joe, the average Jane, to get one Bitcoin, that window is about to pass. So let's talk about it now. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps. So first off, let's start off with some hardcore facts, guys. Okay, let's start off with some numbers to give you guys a perspective of how rare it is in general. So I already posted a video on this, how many people actually own one Bitcoin. So there are about less than 2% of all Bitcoin holders own one Bitcoin. And using the Pareto principle, okay, the Pareto principle was Pareto was an Italian economist who lived a couple hundred years ago, who figured out that there was an experiment that he did with plants, and he realized that a small percentage of the plants produced the most buds and the most seeds and the most flowering. So using this same logic, even though there's like 2% of wallets have about one Bitcoin or more, which is about a million wallets in total, there's a good chance that a lot of those wallets are owned by the same people. Okay, you've got companies out here, corporations, they have tens of thousands of Bitcoin. They don't have all their Bitcoin in one wallet. And then you've got individuals, right? On the Bitcoin standard, they don't have all their money in one Bitcoin wallet. So I think it's really important to realize that there's probably like under 250,000 people, individuals / corporations on planet Earth, that have one Bitcoin. So this is a really small class of people, okay? About 200 to 250,000 people out of 8 billion. Which is absurd, right? If you think about it. And that's simply because the Bitcoin that is being mined is constantly getting smaller and smaller and smaller, guys. Okay? In a few years, the block reward will be less than one Bitcoin. Okay? So I think it's really important for people to understand that if you wanted to ever become a whole coiner, if you wanted to ever really have the title of a Bitcoiner where you have at least one Bitcoin, that window's closing. It's closing pretty fast, guys. Let's go over some more numbers. Okay, so the average, I'm from Washington DC, so we're gonna do numbers from like the East Coast, the United States of America. Okay, the average household income in Washington DC or any major city, big major city in America, we're not talking about like a small little town with very few people in it. Okay, we're talking about big major city, probably anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000. Okay, we're talking New York, DC, LA, Miami, Dallas, okay, San Francisco, places like that. So now it takes more than the average annual household income for most people in most major cities in the United States. That's not even enough to acquire one Bitcoin. Okay, we're talking about people having to work over 2,000 work hours and work 52 whole weeks. Okay, so it now currently takes, on Bitcoin's current price, it takes almost 2 years of the average American household income to afford one Bitcoin. 2 years. And of course that would be pre-tax numbers. Okay, we're not talking about after tax, i.e. take-home pay. So why am I saying all of this? What I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that gap, that amount of years that it's going to take for most people to work to acquire one Bitcoin is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So right now, it takes, just for the average American household, it would take almost 2 years of working to get one Bitcoin. Now, a lot of experts say that Bitcoin's top at the end of 2025 should be around $175,000, okay? Now, where did I get these numbers from? Well, you know, according to my calculations, I believe 200K is the max top. There'll be a lot of resistance there. But also, I was watching videos from some of the top Bitcoin mining CEOs like Fred Thiel over at Mara, and he thinks that the cycle top in Q4 2025, so that means at the end of 2025, like around November, December, somewhere around there, is about $175,000. Okay, guys, so I got this number from the CEO of the largest Bitcoin mining company in North America. So that's a pretty good source to get your information from. So if Bitcoin hits $175,000, it's going to take almost 3 years. 3 years of the average American household income of about $60,000 to afford one Bitcoin. Just under 3 years. Why am I saying all this? Why am I telling you all this, guys? Well, I'm saying if you guys have the money, if you guys have the capital or have the ability to borrow to get to one Bitcoin, this is probably the best time to do it, okay? So now let's go through another scenario. Let's say Bitcoin hits like $175,000 and then it dips a little bit. Well, it's definitely not going to dip all the way back down, okay, to 60 or 70K, because all these new corporations, it seems like there's like a new company that's starting a Bitcoin treasury almost every week now. It's insane the amount of companies that are coming out and adopting the Bitcoin standard at an accelerated pace. Of course, a lot of this has been accelerated by Donald Trump saying that he's going to start a national Bitcoin reserve. So the window is closing. The window is getting so small. And, you know, I can remember when I first adopted the Bitcoin standard back in 2019, man, Bitcoin was just like a couple $1,000. Like, the window is getting, even myself, I'm thinking, man, you know, I got a few regrets. If I had really understood what was going to happen, if I could have like seen into the next 10 years, I probably would have just sold everything I had and just went all in on Bitcoin. Kind of like with the DD guy from the Bitcoin family, the guy that sold all his stuff and like traveled with his wife and kids. I probably would have done something similar to that. I couldn't visualize it. You know what I mean? I couldn't see it happening. I couldn't predict the future so well that I knew that Bitcoin was going to hit six figures so quickly. So my important takeaway from this video, I'll give you guys a couple of things that you can do. First off, you know, it's easier to sell stuff you already have to buy Bitcoin than it is to just find a new job. Okay, a lot of people out here, even with college degrees and master's degrees and things like that, they're struggling to find work. So guys, less is more. If you guys have anything that you really don't need, okay, whether it's like possessions, antiques, okay, stocks, bonds, and companies that really aren't, that you don't really resonate with, that you really don't care about, they really aren't doing anything for you, try to get to one Bitcoin, okay? This window, you can always buy back that stuff. I mean, that stuff you guys acquired earlier, you can buy it back. The demand for one Bitcoin is much stronger than a lot of the things that you guys have. Cars, all these things you guys have that you really don't need. But having one Bitcoin in the future is not only going to like provide you with financial security, but it's going to be a huge flex, because there's less than 250,000 people on earth that have one. And as the price gets higher and higher, that number is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, when Bitcoin's trading at 250K, if you have one Bitcoin, you're seen as like a boss. Or you, for you ladies out there, you're like a queen bee. Are you kidding me? You have Bitcoin's worth 250,000 freaking dollars? That's like 4 years salary for the average American. It's almost half a decade the average American has to work. Pre-tax, not counting take-home pay. All right? There's a couple of ways you guys can do this. Like I said, selling things you just don't need. The second way, borrow money. I know a lot of you guys out there are afraid to borrow money and things like that. Hey, don't be afraid. I'm telling you, look, some of the greatest businesses on the planet were started by borrowing money. Jeff Bezos borrowed $300,000 from his parents to start Amazon. Could you imagine if he was scared to borrow money? Borrowing money isn't bad if you're using the money to buy something worthwhile. If you're using the money to borrow money to gamble or to, buy a car you don't need or a house you can't afford, then that's dumb. But if you're borrowing the money to buy Bitcoin, that's smart. Okay? Most of you guys can borrow for under maybe 30% interest rates max, whereas Bitcoin's been doing 50, 60, 70% returns annually over the past 10 years. So that's an accredited borrow. That's exactly what guys like Sailor and the guys over at Strategy are doing. They're borrowing money to buy Bitcoin, and they're over 16 billion in profit, probably more than that. Since I've recorded this video, it's probably gone up even more than that. So try to borrow money if you can, okay? The third thing that you can do, all right, you can move, okay, guys? I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I can't afford money to buy Bitcoin. Guys, look, I moved, okay? I live in Asia now, okay? Specifically, I live in Southeast Asia. I moved because I just couldn't, I couldn't afford to buy Bitcoin and live in DC at the moment. It just wasn't possible for me. I was doing the math, and with the cost of the rents and things like that. Now I do plan on moving back to the United States, but at this moment I just couldn't afford to live there, okay? So over the last couple of, I've been living in Southeast Asia. I just couldn't afford to move, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it and save Bitcoin at the same time. It just wasn't possible. So saving or, moving to a cheaper country helped me save a lot of money, reinvest in Bitcoin and things like that, because the cost of living in a place like Southeast Asia is far cheaper, okay? There's a lot of expats living here on, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. If you really, really, really want to cut all your expenses, you can live off $1,000 a month, okay? You got places like Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, okay? These are some of the countries that a lot of people are going. Cambodia too, but Cambodia's pretty good. I've never been there, but I know a lot of expats are going there. Now, if you can't leave the United States, you can always move to a cheaper town or get a roommate, okay? If you can't, move to a cheaper country or something like that, move to a cheaper city, get a roommate. Some of you guys out there don't need to live alone. There's no reason to, especially if you guys are under 40 without kids. Now me, I have 3 children, but you guys are under 40 without kids. You don't need to live by yourself. There's no need to. Okay, get a roommate. Cut your expenses down. Be able to invest more money into Bitcoin at this moment. There will be the time where you want to get your own place and buy yourself, but not now while Bitcoin is in this weird stage where it's just over 6 figures. It's in the reach for a lot of people, but it won't be like this forever. It will not always be in your reach. There's going to be a time, I don't know when, guys. I don't have a crystal ball, but there's definitely going to be a time, maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, where Bitcoin's just completely out of reach. It'll just be considered like digital gold, a corporate asset. It'll be trading at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. It'll be almost impossible for anyone to not only get 1 Bitcoin, but probably to even get half of a Bitcoin. And then at that time, that's when having 0.1 Bitcoin will be a flex. But we're not there yet. Especially if you guys, now I don't know if some of you guys living in some of the other countries where the incomes are lower, it's going to be difficult. But most of you guys, if you guys are living in the United States, especially, or any Western country, any country with a high salary, you could figure out a way to get to 1 Bitcoin. I don't care if it's you, your friends, your family, you guys can figure out a way to get that money together to get 1 Bitcoin. Don't think of it as having a Bitcoin for yourself. Think of it as having it for your family, okay? Your family can have a generational Bitcoin reserve. Bitcoin is bigger than you or me, okay? We see what some of these companies are doing. Look at this new company, ASST. I recommended this stock to you guys when it was $8, okay? It's up over, I think it's over $10, $11 now, okay? A bunch of billionaires came together to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you don't need to do everything by yourself. Some of you guys can come together with your family and your friends, and you guys can buy Bitcoin together, just like Vivek and JD Vance and Peter Thiel and all these billionaires did. They start big companies and they come together to buy Bitcoin. So, like I said, guys, that's what I would recommend. Just, if you can't sell everything you have, you can't borrow money, and you can't move, come together with your people, come together with your friends and family, and try to get at least one Bitcoin between you guys, because it's just going to be a huge flex. And let me tell you something, guys. There are literally over 6,000 companies on the New York and NASDAQ Stock Exchange. And my guess, I'm telling you, my guess is within 5 years, the majority of those companies will be on the Bitcoin standard. I know that sounds freaking ridiculous, but Michael Saylor said something similar. He said that by 2026, there'll be about 600 companies on the Bitcoin standard. As Bitcoin continues to go up in price, okay, more and more CEOs are taking notice. They're realizing they're missing out, okay? It was a huge flex to buy Bitcoin at $1,000, but at this point where you're literally seeing stocks of companies that where their revenue and their profits aren't changing, but because they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, their valuations are skyrocketing. Let's go back to ASST. You know, that stock is up like almost 2,000%, guys, okay? Another one, a new one, NAKA, okay? That stock is up big. We all know CEP. CEP was up, what, 400%. Strategy's been up over 3,000%, okay? Any smart CEO, especially in the United States now, they can't recognize that having Bitcoin is only going to add value. It's not going to steal value from your company. It's only going to add value. And that number of CEOs that realizes this is going to increase more and more and more and more over the years. Or simply, these CEOs will get replaced. They'll be fired and replaced with a CEO that understands the importance of Bitcoin. I don't think any CEO in America right now can ignore Bitcoin. I think it's a massive mistake, because the world is really changing. It's really changing how we transact. Bitcoin is a store of value, but it's also an easier way to transact. And more people are figuring this out. This is why the price is so high right now. It's not just up for no reason. It's up for a good reason. So like I say, guys, the amount of people that will be able to own one Bitcoin is going to shrink so drastically. I don't know if we'll ever see this window again. This literally might be the last chance for this current cycle. You know, with the block reward, it's just over 3 Bitcoin. You know, once the block reward gets cut in half, the block reward, okay, in 2028 will only be 1.5 Bitcoin, okay? Just over that, about 1.5 Bitcoin or so. So this is it, guys. This is the chance. It's going to get so hard. And, you know, I've been pleading with my family. I've been pleading to get into at least 1 Bitcoin. Pleading with everybody that I know. And there's a couple of ways that you can do that. So I already mentioned the ways that you can find the money. Let's talk about ways to actually do it. The first way you can do it, and this is the safest way for most of you guys out there. If you guys are not computer savvy, don't know anything about crypto, no need. IBIT, okay? IBIT is probably the largest Bitcoin ETF on the planet. It's run by BlackRock, the largest institutional money manager in the world, okay? You only have to pay 0.25% expense ratio, okay, to own this fund, right? Now, if you want something cheaper, if you're cost conscious, they have another fund out there. It's a little bit cheaper, the expense ratio, okay? It's called BITB, right? That expense ratio is only 0.2%, okay? So the best one, my favorite one, is IBIT. You can buy this one under any brokerage account, okay? Charles Schwab, Fidelity, okay? E-Trade, Robinhood, okay? Merrill Edge. You can't buy these ETFs on Vanguard. I don't know why. Vanguard, they don't like them. So, you know, not Vanguard. But you can buy IBIT on any, or you can buy the cheapest one, BITB. BITB will save you a little bit of money for you guys that have a lot of money, and you're going to be holding it for a lot of years, because the expense ratio does add up. So if you're holding hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars worth of these ETFs, and you're paying just a slightly higher expense ratio, the fees are going to be more. They're going to add up. So I would say IBIT for the guys out there that are just averaging a little bit of money. If you guys are invested a lot of money, BITB to save more on the expense ratio. That's the first easiest way, okay? That most people can do this. All you need is a brokerage account. Okay, the second way is through Coinbase, Robinhood, Kraken, or any of these exchanges, okay? Buy your Bitcoin there, set it up, okay? Secure your Bitcoin, okay? Use 2FA, okay? Two-factor security authentication, okay? Do not click in any emails. Don't talk to anyone about crypto. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's an email, a phone call, don't talk to anybody. Just buy your Bitcoin, forget about it. Do not talk to people about your crypto, okay? There's been a lot of scams going on around here of people like clicking emails. Look, guys, look, crypto is something, it's your personal business. You don't have to talk about it with anybody, okay? Me, you know, I barely know anybody that owns Bitcoin. I don't talk. I don't have anybody to talk about Bitcoin with. And that's a good thing, because I don't, you know, other than make a few videos and upload things on my website here and there, that's it. So keep it that way. Okay, Bitcoin is your personal business. You don't have to discuss it with anybody. And you damn sure don't have to answer any phone calls or respond to any emails or any social media messages about it. Just ignore it. Just focus on the long run. Stack sats and keep it moving. Enjoy your life. The third way, okay? So we mentioned the Bitcoin ETFs, holding custody on Coinbase. The third and final way that you can get exposure to Bitcoin. Okay, guys. The third and final way that you can get exposure to Bitcoin is through some of these Bitcoin Treasury companies, okay? So MSTR, CEP, NAKA, SMLR, ASST, MARA, any of these companies that are holding Bitcoin. Now, the thing is with these Bitcoin Treasury companies, you're going to be paying a premium, okay? The premium is basically the multiplier to the net asset value, or MNAV. You'll see this this little acronym being used a lot online, okay? The MNAV is just the multiplier of the net asset values of the Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So for example, let's say a company has $1 billion in Bitcoin and its market cap is 2 billion. That means the MNAV is 2. So you're paying a premium. Now, why are you paying a premium? Well, you guys are paying a premium because the company's going to keep buying more Bitcoin for you. So you need to pay for that service. Okay, nothing's free out here, guys. Even air, even good air isn't free. Nothing's free, pretty much, okay? I guess sunshine, how about that? Sunshine and polluted air, that's it. That's all that's free nowadays, okay? We know love ain't free. How transactional everything is out here, okay? But yeah, that's it. So you need to pay that company a premium for them going out there every quarter, every year, and buying Bitcoin and making your Bitcoin per share go up. So you're going to pay a premium for that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in depth in a separate video, but those are basically 3 ways you can get exposure to Bitcoin. Bitcoin ETFs, buy Bitcoin outright on an exchange and hold it in a crypto wallet, and the Bitcoin Treasury companies. That's it. There'll probably be new ways to get involved in Bitcoin, but right now those are only 3 ways I can think of. Use that to get to 1 Bitcoin. Obviously, you can buy the Bitcoin ETFs, so you buy the equivalent of 1 Bitcoin, or you actually own a Bitcoin in your wallet, or you invest in some of these treasury companies, but you're going to have to own more than the current Bitcoin price, because remember, each share has Bitcoin in it. So you're going to have to calculate the net asset value in order to have the equivalent of 1 Bitcoin. So let's go over this one again. So this is a little bit confusing. So let's say a company like MSTR strategy has the multiplier is 1.6 Bitcoin, okay? So you're going to have to take Bitcoin's current price and multiply it by 1.6 to figure out how much money you need to have in MSTR stock to have 1 Bitcoin. Okay, it's a little bit different. It's way more expensive to do it that way, but your returns can be greater because the company's constantly buying more Bitcoin per share. So let's say you dumped 160K into MSTR, which is the equivalent of having 1 Bitcoin, and then you do nothing. Well, as long as Sailor and people over there at Strategy keep buying Bitcoin per share, you're going to make more money than buying it outright. So what I do is I do all 3. I have the ETFs, I have Bitcoin outright, and I have invested in Bitcoin holdings companies. I'm not an all-in guy. I'll never go all in on anything. It's too much risk. Like I said, it's capital preservation is the first most important thing. Always have don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, You know, even guys like Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, some of the richest guys in the world in terms of fiat, they have multiple companies. You don't need to put all your eggs in one basket. It doesn't. That's probably the best way to get rich, but that's also the best way to go bankrupt too. So, like I said, spread things around if you want. You can. You know, I'm not a financial advisor, but I think, you know, spreading, having a little bit of everything is good, and also you kind of figure out how things work, and you just become a better, smarter, more intelligent investor over time. So, you know, potential allocation could be for some of you older guys. If you guys are over 40, you don't know anything about crypto, you know, you could go something like 80% Bitcoin ETFs, 10% Bitcoin in a wallet, and like 10% Treasury companies. Or if you want alpha returns, 80% in Treasury companies, 10% in the ETF, 10% of Bitcoin outright. For you younger guys out there, if you guys want to just adopt Bitcoin standard, use like Bitcoin as your savings account, this is especially for younger investors. I would not advise older investors to use Bitcoin as your savings account. You don't need to. Okay, for you guys who have been working for 20, 30, 40 years, you saved up your money, don't use Bitcoin as a savings account, okay? Use the Bitcoin ETFs. You've already built up your money. I have a couple of clients, they're in their 60s, they're millionaires. They don't need to own Bitcoin in a wallet. It doesn't really help them. So I recommend the Bitcoin ETFs. But for you guys under 40, you'd be better off using Bitcoin as a savings account because you don't have 20, 30, 40 years of work experience built up, okay? You need to build yourself up. I'm 38. I'm still in build mode. I'm not in coast mode, okay? Not yet. Hopefully one day. But I'm not there yet. So, you guys under 40, you can use Bitcoin as your savings account. You can invest in some of the Bitcoin ETFs that I mentioned earlier, some of the Treasury companies, and your retirement account. This is going to give you the best of both worlds because your savings is going to grow and your retirement is growing at the same time. So no matter what's going on in your life, you're getting richer and richer and richer. Now, obviously, Bitcoin isn't guaranteed to go up, but it's gone up a hell of a lot ever since its inception. And usually, you know, like you said, ride the winner. It ain't done us wrong yet. You know, anybody that's been on Bitcoin over the past, since its inception, is in a profit. And it's hard to say that about a lot of stocks or real estate investments or anything in life, that when Bitcoin hits an all-time high, every single holder is in profit. Crazy stuff. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Just wrap this video up. It's getting hot here. I'm getting kind of dehydrated. So yeah, only one Bitcoin will be increasingly rare, but it is possible. And I think you guys can get there. I know a lot of you guys watching this will get there. Absolutely. Heck, maybe even I'll be getting there. I don't know. One of my goals is to try to get there myself before the top. I think it's possible. I think I can do it, you know. Obviously, I'll probably have to borrow the money, but I think I can do it. So that's my goal. Hope I have the same goal for you guys, if you guys can figure it out. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out here in the sweltering heat for you guys. I'm gonna do more outdoor videos, hopefully, you know. So like I said, that's it. Like I said, thanks you guys for watching, and good luck to you out there. So until next time, guys, you know, God willing, take care.